Buju Gakina Awia. Welcome to the Red Lake Nation College Gikindasuin podcast, a RLNC community space to discuss topics on culture and language, history, student spotlights, and more. This week we have RLNC English instructors Sarah Barrett and Stephanie Martin speaking about plagiarism and tips on how to avoid it. This episode was recorded on January 12th, 2023. Red Lake Nation College would like to thank the National Endowment for the Humanities for their generous support in the creation of this podcast. Miigwech.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Sarah Barrett. I am one of the English instructors at RLNC, and I am here with another one of our English instructors, Stephanie.
Hello, I am Stephanie Martin. I'm new. I'll be teaching English classes this semester, and I'm very excited to be here as well.
I think some of our English classes this semester are going to be really wonderful. We're teaching mythology and American literature during the Industrial Revolution.
I'm excited about that one.
I know, it's going to be great. Those of you who have those classes, we're excited to see you. And today, we're excited to talk a little bit about plagiarism. I have a joke for you, though, Stephanie.
Okay, we'll start out with the joke. That's a great idea.
Okay. So I saw a student getting arrested by the police for plagiarism. It was a sight to behold. Isn't that terrible?
I love corny jokes.
I do, too. I'm a big corny joke fan. But one of the big things we wanted to talk about with plagiarism is just give you a brief idea of what it is, what the school says it is, how the school deals with plagiarism, and where you can get help. So first of all, Stephanie, do you want to say a little bit about what our definition from the RLNC handbook is for plagiarism?
Yes, yep, it comes right from the student handbook. Plagiarism is defined as the representation of another's ideas, statements, or data as your own. This includes copying, paraphrasing, or summarizing another person's work without the proper acknowledgement. So footnoting, that means in-text citations, in-text credits, quotation marks, things like that. This also includes using one paper from one class for another class. You're lying to this instructor that you did the work for that class if you've already previously done it for another. You can't just write a paper and then turn the same one in next semester for a different class.
Exactly.
Not okay.
Exactly. That doesn't happen very often, but I think you can do that as long as you get permission from your professor.
Okay.
But yeah, make sure that you're writing new papers for every class. That's one that doesn't get talked about very often.
Right. And the more you write, the more you learn.
Exactly. And that's why we're all here. We want to expand these big, beautiful brains that we have. So why does plagiarism matter? Stephanie, why do you think plagiarism matters as an English instructor?
I mean, people work so hard for the research and the ideas that they have, that they write down, that they try to get out there. So it's like stealing somebody else's, possession. Really, it's stealing somebody else's work. It's not just copying; it's actually stealing, in my eyes. Which especially if somebody's worked so hard for everything they've done. Of course, you can use that information and then give them credit, but you can't take that credit for your own.
Exactly. And I really do believe this is theft, right? It's intellectual theft. But the cool thing is, I think that, like you said, we can use people's words. We just have to give them credit, kind of like the credits in a movie or the credits that you read at the front of a book. These are all ways that we use people's words to enhance our own arguments or to enhance our own information, our own data. But we just got to make sure that we give them a little bit of credit.
Yes.
At RLNC, plagiarism includes quite a few things. We're going to just kind of read directly from the student handbook about academic integrity and then discuss that a little bit.
Okay, so what does plagiarism include at RLNC? So academic integrity, honesty in academic matters is expected of all students, of course. So actions that are contrary to the spirit of academic integrity will not be tolerated. So any attempt to misrepresent someone else's work as your own to receive credit for assignments you did not do, obtain an unfair advantage over other students in the completion of work, or aid another student to do the above will be considered a breach of academic integrity. So acts of academic dishonesty include things, but are not limited to, obtaining or using unauthorized materials for the completion by you or another student. So an examination paper or an assignment. So unauthorized collaboration with another student in completing an assignment. Things like that. So submitting as your own work that of another student or allowing your work to be submitted for credit by someone else. That's what plagiarism is. So also copying from another student's paper or an assignment. Computer theft, such as unauthorized duplication of software and or unauthorized access to accounts other than your own. So this includes the use of the college resources, like computer facilities, network, software, things like that, for financial gain.
And I think the other interesting thing that this brings up is a lot of times people think that plagiarism only happens in English. But I don't think that's the case. I think plagiarism happens in a lot of classes where people are stealing data, people are taking things from other students. And remember, if we're plagiarizing from another student, both students, I believe, will get an academic dishonesty kind of mark against them. And there's a process once you get caught plagiarizing or stealing an RLNC that we're going to talk about in just a second, of what happens when you do choose to steal someone else's intellectual work. But I think it's also important to address how the school deals with this. I know if you're trying to cite in my class, I am going to work with you. If I see that you're attempting to cite, I'm going to work with you. But if that citation's not 100% correct, we'll find a way to fix it, to make it correct. How do you feel about, like, have you ever struggled with plagiarism before?
Oh, well, I was a non-traditional student going back to college when I finally, went back and took it seriously. I was a mom by that point. But yeah, I was unsure of what I was doing going back in. I mean, while these younger students knew more, general ideas about what they needed to know, I just simply didn't. So I remember one time in particular, one of my very first papers as an undergrad, I wrote a very good paper, I thought, that I was so proud of because at this time I was still really insecure. Like I really wanted it to sound perfect. I wanted to make a good first impression with my first paper. I really kind of wanted to prove myself. So I wrote this paper and I did not cite it correctly. I attempted to, but I failed miserably. So I was called into my teacher's office and she simply said the word plagiarism and I just tears, instantly tears. And oh God, please don't kick me out. Oh my goodness, please. And I even said to her, I don't know what I was thinking. Why did I come back to school? How did I think I could do this? And she just looked at me, and this teacher who was so intimidating at first to me before on that first day just looked at me and said, Stephanie, no, 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 calm down, please, please breathe. And she gave me, a Kleenex, and she was instantly just human,
Yes,
because a lot of
yes.
times you don't, when you're starting out or even in general, you just don't look at professors as, humans.
As people who make mistakes.
Real
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So she was so generous in helping me and showing me and correcting me and showing me the right way to do that. So she knew that I wasn't intentionally trying to steal somebody's property, which is what it's pretty much like, as we said. But yeah, she helped me out and I never made that mistake again.
Well, and I love that story because now you teach people how to do that. And I just think it shows that there is growth that happens
Right.
for everybody, for instructors, for students. It's a process. And I love that you attempted to cite and the professor gave you that guidance that you needed to really hone that skill. I love that story. I think that's wonderful. If you plagiarize at RLNC, there is a process that we go through. Student dishonesty will not be ignored. This is from the handbook. In situations where dishonesty is suspected, the faculty member will meet with the student, will state the charge and the action to be taken, and will refer him or her to the academic appeals section of the college catalog. Copies of this notice will be sent to the Vice President of Operations and Academic Affairs. Cheating on exams, plagiarizing, or committing other forms of dishonesty, like taking someone else's paper and calling it your own, can result in an F in the course for the like for that course, you can get an F, or it can even be academic suspension.
Right. And that's so hard to come back from
So
once that
hard.
happens, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think the other thing that's really interesting about citation is that you can borrow whatever you need. You don't need to steal it.
You don't even have to pay for it. You can just
Mhm.
find the information and use it. Just give, of course, the author or authors credit, and then it's all good.
Yep. And that credit is something that we teach not only in our composition classes, but giving that credit, learning how to cite, learning how to do in text citations and reference pages. That's something that we can help you with. We have a lot of places around here at RLNC where if you don't really know how to cite or you're nervous, like Stephanie was when she first started, don't be intimidated. Like, take that courage that you all have coming to college and really go to your professors and say, I don't know how to cite this, but I want to use this person's information. And you can use pretty much whatever you want. Data tables, you can use quotes, you can use paragraphs. These are all things that we can put into our papers, but we want to hear your voice. This is why you're at college, so that we can hear your voice.
Yes, and I'm more than happy to help and pay that forward
Mm.
because I know how that feels. So now I can do that for someone else
Yes.
or numerous people, hopefully. I'm here to help.
Exactly. And we also have great places to find help on campus. We have TutorMe, which students can access TutorMe through their Canvas portal. It's on the side menu. I've heard some really good things from students about that service. I know if you have a paper where you're worried about plagiarism, you can turn that full paper in, and within 24 hours, they'll get back to you with corrections you can make and making sure that you're spotting that plagiarism.
That is wonderful.
Isn't that a great
That's
tool?
awesome. I wish I would have had that when I first went back to school. Would have solved a lot of grief. But
I agree 100%. Stephanie, do you want to talk a little bit about the Writing Center and having people come see you? You're going to be doing like writing hours, right?
yes, so I'll be there on Mondays and Wednesdays, 11:30 to 12:30, 1-ish, somewhere in there. I'll try to stay until 1 most likely. But yes, you can come in anytime and come see me. Also, as I wrote on my class syllabi, that I have specific email hours. So even if I'm not on campus that day, I'm guaranteed to be right in front of my computer, say between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. That's when you can get the quickest answers from me through email because I'm going to be right there. I can reply to you, within minutes.
Absolutely. And same for me. I also have office hours. I do some Writing Center hours online or in person down in Minneapolis. Stephanie, we're lucky enough to have up in Red Lake. So you can
Thanks.
see in-person help at either site is possible, and online help is possible. I think there was another one I wanted to talk about real quick. Oh, English instructors are always willing to help you, but also Ignacio. Ignacio is our librarian, and he is wonderful. I highly recommend going to get some research support from him. Have you met Ignacio?
I met him, well, formally today, and he's so easy to talk to. He's so kind and he's always seems so happy.
He is.
So I would love to go to him for help.
Exactly.
And I might because I'm a new instructor. So yeah, he seems like a very, very easygoing, easy to talk to kind of guy.
And when you're asking for help, easy to talk to, boy, that helps.
Oh, absolutely. You're not kidding.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we have anything else. I know Purdue OWL is also a really good site. If you just Google Purdue OWL APA citations, I use that a lot in my class. Have you used Purdue OWL in the past?
Oh, yes.
What other kinds of resources do you use? I know there's guidebooks.
Back in the day, I used easybib.com. And what I found was the more I did that, the more I didn't need to do that anymore, if that makes sense, because the more you get access to these tools for help, you don't have to do it anymore because it just kind of becomes ingrained in your brain.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing. So it's a teaching tool,
It is. It's an exciting teaching tool. And I'm a big fan of using citation generators, actually. But I think that we need to learn to check our citation generators and know how to do it without a citation generator as well. For those of you who don't know, citation generators are these amazing tools online where you can enter where you got your information from, and it will automatically populate a citation for you, which is really great. The last thing I kind of wanted to chat about on this little podcast on plagiarism is this really interesting new tool that has come out. It's an AI tool, and it's called ChatGPT. Have you heard about this?
You told me about this the other day, and I could not believe it.
I know. It's this crazy AI where people are kind of concerned. There's a lot of articles right now out about this. If you Google ChatGPT, this is an AI that can write essays. But I wanted to say, I know we're going to be addressing this in our classes. We're going to be addressing this as a school, not using ChatGPT to plagiarize, because it's going to have the exact same consequences. And I have to say, I read some of the essays. They're pretty simplistic, although they're correct. But I would be able to spot that essay, I think, because it's so formulaic and it's so, I mean, we get to know our students' writing styles over the course of a semester. And if your writing style suddenly changes, that's a clue to your professor that you're not using the same work that you were in the past. So I think ChatGPT, although handy for researching, is not going to be a good place for people to be citing from. I think you need to put the legwork in.
Yes.
And really dig deeper than just surface level AI answers.
Right. And we need, like you said earlier, we need your own thoughts too, not just facts from other people. That helps to, promote your own ideas and to back them up. But yeah, we want to hear what you think about things when you write papers.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts.
I love hearing students' thoughts. And I have to tell you, Stephanie, since starting working here, I have learned more from my students sometimes than I feel like I even give the other way, that I teach to them, because we have some amazing students who have some amazing, really wonderful ideas. And I want to hear those ideas. I think that there's a lot of power in ideas.
Right. That's the reason we became teachers. We want to know your ideas.
Yeah. And I know the last thing I want to say before we go, I think, is that everybody makes mistakes when you're starting out in college. And you will make mistakes when you're learning to cite, just like Stephanie did, just like I did, just like all of my students have. You're here to learn, and we don't expect you to know these things when you get here. But once we teach them to you, we do expect you to ask us for help and make sure that you really know how to do this going forward. Because if you're plagiarizing, you're really not just lying to your professors or to your college or your peers. You're also lying to people in the future who are going to look at your degree. So you're lying to your future workplaces. You're lying to future partners, like partnerships you might have within your working, and you're really cheating yourself.
I was going to say that, and you're lying to yourself.
You're
kind of sad.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. I know we can. This is a school where everyone has wonderful ideas that they can come up with, and just use that citation as a support. So, any other things you'd like to say about plagiarism?
I don't think so.
Don't think so? Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody, for kind of logging in and listening to us talk about plagiarism a little bit. If you ever have questions, you can email me. I know you can email Stephanie. You can email Ignacio, or really any of your professors, and we'd be happy to help you. Have a wonderful semester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please give us a thumbs up and follow us for more content. A special miigwech to the following for their efforts in the creation of this Red Lake Nation College Gikindaswin podcast episode. Opening music by RLNC Director of Equity, Cultural Education and Archives, Floyd Buck Jourdain. Opening introduction and closing by RLNC student Nainokazi Rebecca Peterson. Our hosts this week, RLNC English instructors Sarah Barrett and Stephanie Martin. Production by RLNC IT Director Josh Nelson and student Nainokazi Rebecca Peterson. And a special thanks to the National Endowment for the Humanities for their generous support. Gigawabamin Minoa.